everybody. Welcome to the latest Inside AWAI, real copywriters talking real strategies and real success. And I have an amazing guest today to talk to us about all those things. Hi, Jill. Jill Weberding's here.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here.
So glad to have you. Jill, it has been so fun to watch your trajectory, your growth, your everything. And it's been what, about a year and a half since we first met, or like really met
I
in
think
person?
so. Yeah, in person. Yeah.
And
I was at your boot camp table. Like we were in
yes,
Austin together.
in
At the
Austin,
table.
right? And I got to know a little bit about what you're doing now and just what you're doing or what you were doing then, and to see what you're doing now. I just knew you'd be the perfect person to come on and just share some inspiration, some boots on the ground, real world tips, and just your enthusiasm for what we're doing. And hello to everybody that's joined us. I'm so happy you're here. We're having so much fun doing these. And if you have any questions for Jill, be sure and throw them up in the chat, and we'll get to them. But Jill, I do want to start with, what is it that you're doing now in this copywriting marketing adventure you're on?
Yeah. So I think I'm a good example of like, you never end up where you think you're going to,
Yes.
that's true for a lot of people. And so the key in my experience has been just to be open and let your path go. Keep saying yes, and you'll just have fun. So
Yeah.
right now I guess I'm considered the sales and marketing director of what I would call it my husband's company, but it's technically our business. And we do souvenir gifts like ornaments, magnets for destinations, Hoover Dam, national parks, all those types of aquarium zoos, things like that.
Cool. But you started out as a nurse, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I met you. You were doing training and coaching for nurses to help them expand their worlds, right, or their careers.
Yeah, so I didn't even know that copywriting existed. I was I'm like my traditionally trained, I'm 20 plus year cancer nurse. And I was a manager. I worked in the community. I spoke, I did a lot of education. And so then I transitioned after kids. I transitioned to working as an entrepreneur, working from home. I was speaking, I was rewriting slide decks, and a lot of, again, focus on patient education, trying to get my own like consulting business going. And I knew I needed marketing help. I just didn't know, what the problem was or how to fix it. And so I had jumped into some entrepreneur type of groups to learn a little bit about messaging, marketing, and I just kept getting deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. And like I said, I didn't know that copywriting existed until.
But here you were doing it, and
I was doing it.
How great to actually put a label on it and get some insight into how to improve.
Yeah. And that was the key to like the first problem that I figured out I had in marketing was I wasn't calling it the right thing. I wasn't matching what the market was looking for. I'm calling myself a nurse consultant. They were looking for, a medical writer. They were looking for copywriting and patient education and all that type of stuff. So I was so far off. It was no wonder that I was having trouble getting traction. So your customers are the same.
And I do think that could be our first takeaway here is understand what your market needs, what your clients need, and make sure that they know that that's what you do. I think that that's probably something people do get hung up on, is thinking of themselves as, like you were saying, a nurse consultant, when really you were a marketing consultant for the healthcare industry. So that's pretty interesting.
With a ton of experience, right? And so that was that would put me in a much different, a higher, likelihood to be a bigger asset for them, for the company, because I had all that medical experience. Think about Steve and all his, industry experience and what he can bring, how he can write in a different way than somebody who doesn't have that. It really makes me think of Pam, who always says, instead of saying I'm a website, copywriter, whatever, she asks, if they have a website, she goes, oh, I can help you I can make it work better. Like a lot of people, my husband didn't know what a copywriter was, but he's been an entrepreneur for 25 years. He just needs someone to write this stuff. so that he doesn't have to do it and it gets done, but he wouldn't be looking for a copywriter. So sometimes it depends on what kind of clients you're looking for, knowing what do they call it so that you're matching their language so that you guys can meet up.
I love that. That's really strong advice. So you talked about, your husband needed all this stuff written. So now that you're the stuff writer, what are some of the projects? Like, what's a typical day like for you?
Yeah, so this week's been a little crazy because we're getting ready to go to two like vendor shows, trade shows. And so it's all about getting our trade show materials updated, correct. What do we need? Getting them to the printer, making sure they're in the right language. They're two different, different shows. And so they're different customer bases. So it's, again, trying to keep, it's not like you just write one thing and here, this is what goes to everybody. It's not going to land. So it's thinking
Again,
about that customer.
I'm going to keep interrupting you, Jill, because these are little nuggets. I just want to make sure when you're dealing with clients, when you're dealing even with finding clients, in that realm, you do need to target it. It's not one size fits all. In 0 cases, it's one size fits all.
And that was one of the things that I brought immediately. They were doing sales sheets with our designs and stuff on them, but it had it was not user friendly. They weren't thinking about the customer experience there was no user experience thought put into it. It was their jargon. It made no sense to anybody who picked it up. They could see the picture, but they didn't really know, well, how do I order this? Like, is there a minimum quantity? What's the price?
Right.
Is this an ornament? Is this a magnet? So I immediately, that was some of the first few things that I started interjecting is getting rid of this friction, thinking about user experience.
I love that.
Who's this going to?
And that must have created a lot of wins and that's so tangible. Making those changes is so tangible for the business owners and the clients. But what's a recent win that you've had that you're excited about that we can talk about?
Yeah, so I love it when you get inside somebody's head without them knowing it. It's kind of fun. So when I was talking to a company, we were pitching a kind of corporate gifts for them. And, so you do a little research on them and they're a very family-based business and they do a lot of things that they're proud of, clearly, that not like the rest of the industry. So, we talked about you're not cookie cutter, this company, I'm like, you're not a cookie cutter type of company. So it would make sense that that's not the kind of award and recognition that you would use too. So then on a follow-up phone call, I put this type of language in the email and in the little quick, one sheet sales pitch to him. And when he called me back, he was reverberating. He was saying my words. He was using my language, talking about his company.
You
and I'm
hit it.
Yes, I got it.
Yes. And again, a great lesson, a great takeaway is you do need to find those points that are so important, like with this company, they're so proud of that they aren't cookie cutter, that they have something that's very unique to them. And when you can show that you recognize it and give them language around it, it just makes them feel like they're being heard. And, everybody wants that. So, that's very.
You can tell. It's like music to their ears,
Yes.
When they're finally somebody gets that. And so to have that on a quick or one of your initial calls, it takes such little time. And a lot of people surprisingly don't do it. Just to do a tiny bit of legwork before you can hop on the phone with a client, and you can just interject a few things and it will build rapport so fast.
I love that.
It definitely gives you an edge for sure.
So those kind of insights, I'm sure, have been surprising and exciting because it is fun when you unlock those codes. But what's been something else that's been surprising to you in your new role?
I think that just the variety. I like that. And everybody has their own. It's your preference. If you want to, we talk about niche, and are you just going to be an email copywriter, or are you just going to work with a certain industry, or you don't. I mean, you can go either way. But I love to go deep with a client. So to me, it's always cheaper to go deeper. We've talked about retention before, and so I like to say yes. and like help them get to know the client, build a relationship. And then it's like, what do you need?
Yeah.
And then, I talk about how I use AWAI as my resource library. Like, I feel like I can say yes to anything and then go figure it out, get some, checklists, tips and things to
Right.
make that, to work that job, whatever the project is at the time. This week,
And
we have
you're a
trade show
COS member,
materials.
so that makes it so much
Yeah.
easier to have those resources. So that's great. I would like to go back just a little bit. And when you transitioned from being the consultant for the nurses and in that world into copywriting, was working with your husband the first client, or did you work with other clients before you made that move?
No, he thought, he wasn't sure that what I was doing was even legal. Like, he couldn't imagine that anybody was paying me to write email. It felt like the dumbest thing in his life. And I'm like, we all have this. Like, not all of us, but a lot of us have family members close,
Yeah.
people in our network. They're like, what are you doing? This online stuff? Is this a real job?
No,
Yes,
that's
I'm
a
getting
good
paid
point.
real money. So like, that was his proof, is I was getting paid real money. So
What was
I
your first
worked with.
client? Who was your first client?
So my first client was somebody that I was in his entrepreneur group. He said he needed help. He was having a contest to write an email. He needed help writing emails. And so I'm like, throw my hat in the ring. So it was just a contest. It was a quick, easy email contest. I won, and I got paid to write 6 more emails for him. And then that one contest, and it was, consider that like a spec challenge. I didn't get paid to write the email. He just said, here's the offer. I submitted, and thankfully, I did my work and I put it in, and I was able to win. And that led to the next thing, which was a slightly bigger project, 6 email
and was
sequence,
paid, I'm
right?
sure.
Yeah, paid. And then I followed, honestly, I just kept following what you guys told me to do. An article from Rebecca Mays. I still love this article, free article that was like, just simply ask, if there's anything else that you can help with, ask people in your network. So I asked, is there anything else that you need help with besides email? And I ended up paying for my COS, my whole thing, in a matter of 3 months, because I started doing launch
Talk about proof
sequences,
of
strategy.
concept. And I'm sure your
Yeah.
husband was like, let's write some more emails.
He was like, it took him a while. It really did. Like, I think he was waiting for somebody to knock on the door and be like, your wife's been in some crazy pyramid online. Because, the brick and mortar entrepreneurs are real suspicious of online entrepreneurs sometimes. It's just a totally different world. So,
Right.
But he's a believer now. I'll say that.
Yes, I'm sure he is. And for anybody that would like to read that article, or really any of the articles in our archives, I highly encourage it. But especially, Rebecca Mays has quite a few articles, and they're all so helpful and insightful. But if you go to www.awai.com and go up on the top board, there's the free resource tab. You'll find our archives there, and it is a gold mine. So I highly encourage you to snoop around there and dig in and just hear these different voices and different people having different experiences. But that's great. I love that. All right, Jill. So what's your best advice for your fellow writers?
I would say, like right now, this year, what I think has been so important, the strategy, or like the kind of the mantra that has been, it's all about like learning in motion. And it's a weird year for a lot of people, no matter what business they're in. Some are killing it, and others are like, what happened? They lost their entire client base. So what I'm finding is that turn problems into solutions, right? Turn problems into profit. And so every time you have a problem, a setback, like that is really just setting you up for the next iteration of how to improve your offer, how to, get around. Like, we're even seeing that in our own business, trying to scale, is like every time there's a problem, it's easy to go, oh, and like get discouraged and frustrated. But the reality is, on the other side of that, once we get through that, like we're going to be we're going to be in a better position.
Stronger.
We're going to be serving our customers better. Like, and that's true for even, as a writer, if your offer that you're currently putting out there is not landing, that's your problem, right now. And so look at that offer. Like, what else can you do? Well, how can you pivot? How can you adjust? How can you tweak? Who can you get in front of that is a better match for? What's important right now? What are people scrambling about right now? So learning how to pivot. And so what I just like, there's just an easy 2 words that I add to everything, because I feel like I'm 100% in the mindset and I'm all about positive. My husband calls me disgustingly optimistic, but for everybody, that's not the case, right? And so positive attitude doesn't like make those things go away. Your brain still tells you that's happening when you have a disappointment or setback. Just realize that's normal. That's part of life. Problems and setbacks are expected. So when they happen, like, oh, well, I knew at some point there was going to be, it's not all going to be euphoria. It's not all going to be unicorns and rainbows. Like,
It's life.
has setbacks. Like, that's expected. So if that happens, you can tell yourself, all right, like, I knew that was going to happen at some point. Like, this is normal. So don't get discouraged. And I just simply
But what are
add,
the
like,
2 words?
so what I do is I don't deny. I used to be like, just
Power
pick up your
through it.
bootstrap, pick up your bootstrap, like, but it doesn't change what's happening in your brain. And so I found it much easier to acknowledge what has happened. Like, oh, that kind of stinks. So like, man, that did not go as planned. I wish I would have got that. And the 2 words are, and also, I'm focusing on this. I learned a little nugget. Like, do you remember that he said something? I'm going to take that little nugget that I learned from that call, from that meeting, from that, whatever that was that didn't go well, or is what I thought I wanted, and I'm going to apply it to what I'm doing next. And I'm going to stay in motion. So it's, yeah, that happened. And also, maybe that's not the best client. And also, I stayed in my power and I didn't cave on my pricing. I didn't get the gig, but, and also I am now going to focus on, I really don't know that was a good client. So like, celebrate that you're failing forward. That really is truly, it's just about staying in motion.
I love that. And you know what, Jill? I would even say you can use, and also when things are going right, when things are going great, when something does go right, and also what's next, and also where can this lead me? So I think that's really powerful little mantra to have. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. And my last question is, I'd like to just know what's something you're currently, just super excited about, either inside your career, outside your career. What's something that you're jumping out of bed saying, oh yes, I get to do this today.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that. It's crazy because having 20 years of nursing background and medical background, I was certain I was going to be helping clients in the medical field. I'm not doing that at all. Like, it's just, and I love it. And it's not because it's my husband's company. It's just fun. Like, it is fun. I love the strategy. I love figuring out like this iteration, and everything is an iteration. So I love like bringing that marketing side, that perspective. I call it like dual user perspective that we have as copywriters. We think about not just what our client it has to offer and what their goals are. We also think about the customer and what is it going to feel like from that side. And we're the ones who stay in that middle and go, yes, and also we need to write this way, right? So I hear what you're saying, and then we take it over here, and we're the ones who create the little magic in between that really does move the needle and makes people, connect and get together and, kind of the boat, all tides rise, right? But if you don't have that, and it's so hard when you're in it as the entrepreneur or the client, you just think of your stuff. It's so hard to get out of it and think about the customer perspective that you're serving. And I feel like marketers and copywriters are just naturals. Like, we're so good at that. And I love that piece. So it's real easy to add value. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Helping them find that connection, because it's why they're in business, right?
Yeah.
They're not in business. Yes, they're there to make money and make a profit, make a living, and you can. And also serve a whole bunch of people. You can help a whole bunch of people while you're doing it.
And that's what copywriters, marketers do with across this amazing range of companies and businesses and niches and we're problem solvers. That's what we always say. So, Jill, this has been so fun. Oh, we do have a question from Krista, and she wanted to know, what entrepreneur groups did you belong to?
I did some, I mean, I did a lot that were online because I kind of started, I think, in 2021. So it was still kind of on the heels of COVID. So
Right.
everything I did was online. I'm in a very, very small town. So I could, if I wanted to do local, then I could do like Chamber of Commerce. I would look at, depending on what my offer was, who I want to work with. Do I want to work with small businesses? Do I want to work with women? There's all those types of local associations and chapters that you can connect with as well. So it's really about where are your people that you're looking to connect? You're either looking to serve. How do you get in the room with them and just start learning and be helpful?
Be helpful.
And you'd be surprised. They will be asking you for help. Like if you just chime in and genuinely just show up to connect and be helpful when you can, share your knowledge with the group, the collective, people will be knocking on your door. You won't be pitching. It'll be, sure, I can help with that.
I love it. I love it. Jill, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody for joining me. I hope, so many takeaways here. We're going to have to make a list of all these, but I hope you start embodying this and also be your mantra as well. Oh, wait, we have another comment. Oh, from Sean. Hi, Sean. Turn problems into profits. It's so much better than problems to solution. Great mindset. I couldn't agree more. So thanks, Sean, for recognizing that and calling it out. And Jill, thanks so much for sharing it with us. And Jade, unless there's some other questions or comments, I think we will wrap up today's Inside AWAI. All right. I think let's call it.
Other questions in there. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me, Katie.